And I'm really excited to come here and to bring to life our latest thinking around Canadian customers, how they shifted as a result of the pandemic, and what we can do about it, both as companies and as consumers, what it means for us. Now, what is this study? And you've read the published perhaps, but it's our 16th annual report, really trying to deep dive into understand customer behavior. How companies can capitalize on the evolving customer expectations, and how do they find the white spaces to go after to build new or existing products. It's a survey of more than 25,000 customers across 22 countries, but we also have around 1,500 Canadians that are included in that survey. Now, I've presented this study a number of years, but frankly, this is the most dramatic results I've seen, and I'll talk about why. But it's really a shift that is many years in coming, and is very dramatic. Now, what that shift is, and you can see from this picture on the left here, is that in traditional years, quality and price were always the preeminent reasons why customers purchased. It was always 60, 70% of the reason for purchase. What we found in this year is that there's a number of other factors, other motivators that are driving consumption, driving these decisions. And it's because consumers have reimagined their values and purpose for the last 18 months. They've made a significant shift into what matters for them and they've evolved their purchasing motivations. Now, why this matters to you, this research talks about an enormous white space in which brands can differentiate themselves and show and find new areas of growth. Customers are going to leave brands that don't fit with their priorities, and they'll pay more for those that do. And so the question to ask is, as you start up a new business or have an existing one, how do I motivate my customers to say, and and what will motivate them to pay even more? Now, every year we ask the same series of questions and we add a few on. And this year was no different. And of course, we added a number of pandemic-related questions. The one I have here is: the pandemic made me totally revise my personal purpose and what is important to my life. And what was remarkable as we looked at these sort of pandemic-related questions, we saw a clear trend. Customers really bifurcated into three distinct groups. 44% of them are really changing their buying habits, and they're really, evolving the way they think. We're calling this group the reimagined. They're really thinking hard about, why they're buying things, what those motivations are, and why they do what they do. The second group, this pink box, 35%, are sort of what we're calling the evolved. So they are moving away from traditional behaviors. They're not quite reimagining everything, but they're really on a spectrum, and really trying to, figure out what matters. And so when you group those together, 80% of customers are truly rethinking what matters and what their motivations are. Now, the last 20% are traditionalists. They haven't evolved tremendously, but that's a really small minority of the people. And it's really interesting that 80% of customers have really evolved from on this perspective. Now, I've told you about how we grouped them, but who are these customers? And I think what stands out most about them is not what makes them different, but what makes them the same. So if you think about that 80%, there is not a huge discernible difference between age, gender, employment, income, life changes that is making that difference. It's truly a mindset that these customers have different from the others. Normally, when we do these studies, there's smaller groups, say millennials or Gen X's, that have changed their mindset on some specific elements. But in this, it's truly this large group of customers that are truly, trying to figure out what, how they operate. The other part is that the thing that is really important about them is also that what they've learned can't be easily unlearned. Some stats for you: 72% of these customers expect companies they're doing business with to understand and address how their needs and objectives have changed during time of disruption. 66% of customers say they now expect brands to take more responsibility to motivate them to live by their values. And 40% say that many companies have disappointed them by not providing enough support or understanding of their needs. And that's really interesting as you think about, both what is happening today and where we're going. Now, as we look at this, what is really interesting is we talk about these new motivations. So again, as I talked about before, 60, 70% used to be price and quality, the motivations for purchase. Now we're seeing 5 distinct purchasing motivations come out of the research that are unique and distinct, and they provide interesting areas for companies to go in, to deep dive in, and to drive differentiation. And so what I'm going to do is talk you through each of those quickly and give you examples of companies I think are doing a great job to truly drive differentiation. And then we'll talk about what we can build into our companies more broadly as we come out of this. So again, rapid fire, ease and convenience. As the pandemic forced many transactions online, companies or companies were forced to adjust how they transact in person. The common denominator was usefulness. If you could be a useful experience, you could win. But customers' expectations are not going down on ease and convenience. They're staying high. Customers are seeking everywhere commerce, where transactions need to start and end in the same, don't need to start and end in the same place. An example that I think is really compelling is Ikea's planning studios. So before, when you would design a kitchen, you would go to their big store and it was part of a whole experience. Now they've placed 8 to 10 of these, even in the GTA. And you can go to these small format stores, go in, work with someone to design your kitchen, click, purchase, and then they ship it directly to your house. So they're moving, seamlessly from one channel to another and creating convenience for you. The second trend we see is service and personal care. Along with the move to online shopping, customers expect more from their interactions from a service perspective. They're demanding faster response, longer return times, and greater attention to their needs and concerns. More than half the reimagined customers said they would switch brands if a brand doesn't create a clear, easy option to contact service and provide clear and easy responses about their service levels. We found this almost universal across all businesses. An example of a company I think is doing a really great job at this is Best Buy, who's created these in-home consultations, whereby they send someone to your house who really understands all the technology and can give you basically an audit to talk you through the purchasing options and help as your trusted advisor to figure out what you should be purchasing and what makes sense in your situation, experience, and what you're trying to do. This creates a trusted advisor relationship that really allows them to differentiate against the online purchasers, Amazon, and things of that nature. And I think it's a really interesting way to go about building trust. Third is around reputation and trust. Reimagined customers want to see companies that stand up for something. They're clear about how they contribute to society and they treat their employees well. Customers just don't want to feel residual guilt about those purchases. In travel and life insurance, as an example, strong ethical values was the first or second most motivator across almost all the countries around reimagined customers in terms of what matters to them and how they decide to purchase. Product origin is the fourth one. Customers want to know what goes into a product, how it's produced, and how far it's been transported. Making this available for customers at the time of purchase that they can dig into and really understand and answer their questions as they have them becomes critical. 71% of the reimagined customers in Canada alone are attracted to doing business with brands that source materials and services in highly ethical ways. And I think there's a number of clothing companies from Ralph Lauren to Allbirds that are really leaning in and trying to differentiate in this space by using this as one of their key levers to purchase. And last is health and safety. After more than a year of distancing, hand washing, wearing masks everywhere, customers are attuned to health and safety. And the fact is they've become safety obsessed. I may or may not have spent hours researching children's N95 masks over the last couple of weeks. In fact, 65% of the Reimagined group think it's crucial that companies actively promote health and safety. Ipsos, as the market research company, has started a consumer health and safety index that measures this so that you can quickly understand where companies play on the spectrum. And companies like Whole Foods and Costco are at the top of this, using this as a differentiator to show that they're leaning in and really making a difference in the space. Now, often the question is, as we come out of this, I understand where the white spaces are, but I've spent a lot of time over the past 2-3 years really adding extra features, Ryan. I've added these features and I don't know which ones to keep or how to evaluate them. So I think the key thing is companies that have stretched a long way and really tried to make the best of this scenario need to take a step back and really understand which of these features matter. We use the simple evaluation framework that really looks at, one, what is the likelihood to pay? Is that feature changing that? And also the likelihood to stay. Are people wanting to come or go because of that specific feature? Really trying to juxtapose all of their features against this rubric and sort of see, one, do we need to re-engineer that specific feature to be more cost effective and to really make it so that I can make the appropriate margin? Do we need to recalibrate this and really figure out, is there a premium offering that I can go after? Or last, can I reimagine that? This is where a lot of the white space is. If this truly impacts both likelihood to switch and pay, how do I innovate against that to truly find that white space and create a real differentiator that matters to their customers? Now, what's important is, as you think about this is a moving target. Customers are continuously evolving. So as we think about this and you internalize this for both the company that you're at or are starting, I think there's important things to keep in mind. One, we need to continuously invest to build in research into everything we do so that we're understanding the actual mindset that our customers have and how they're actually, buying our products and what they care about. As that evolves, you have a way to really understand that mechanism and truly track it. Two, I work with a lot of companies that have had the same experiences for years, and they just added on to that with new features. This is about reimagining and re-looking at that experience end to end to see if there are things that I can drop or things that I can add that truly will change and evolve that experience. Three is thinking about how your organization is structured. One of the things about those trends is that they don't apply just to marketing. It's supply chain, it's store ops, it's all the elements of your business. So how do I build experience as almost a hub and spoke model so that it's providing feedback into all elements so that you can truly optimize and enhance all around the organization? I think that's critical. And last, thinking about that business model. Often companies have been paid the same way. Given all these shifts, is there a way to change the business model that you have? Or if you're starting a new company, use that to really create a new way to purchase, be it premium pricing, be it subscription or other, that would be more useful and fit better into this framework. I think the last part, and I think you're going to hear it a lot today, the word innovation is evolving. I think often we sort of think about that as new, come up with new things, come up with new ideas. But I think we need to reframe that in terms of it's often as effective when put against existing products to really reimagine that. You think about some of the examples I gave, they've taken existing products and reimagined those in a new context. And I think that's really important as we think about how do we evolve and address these things. It's how do we take our existing work, our existing products, our existing structure and reimagine them, for a new future. Now, I've said a lot here and I've gone quite quick. I do talk quite fast. So what I wanted to leave you with is two things. One, how to contact us if you have any more questions. And two, there is a robust research site around this that you can dig into, see Voice of Customer Research, an interactive tool that may be helpful as you sort of take this research and try and figure out where to go from here.